Ray's hand shook as he reached for the doorknob. His eyes kept going back to the sign in the middle of the door, Madame Olga's matchmaking services. The voice in his head screamed that he was foolish to even consider this, that he should go back and try to be a normal boy. The voice sounded an awful lot like his mother's voice when he told her that he and June had broken up, and the reason why, she had screamed and flown into one of her temper tantrums. The sound of laughter from the other side of the door brought Ray back to reality. Taking a deep breath, he gripped the doorknob and opened the door. The waiting room looked normal. On the right side there were blue chairs and a brown table. A coffee pot sat on top of a small black table in the corner, next to a water cooler. There was another door which had a sign that read "Do Not Disturb." That must be Madame Olga's office. A young red-headed girl, whom he assumed was the secretary, sat at a desk on the left side of the room. She looked up and smiled as Ray came in. "Good morning. Are you here for your appointment with Madame Olga?" Ray nodded and handed the appointment card to her. She checked it and then said, "Okay, you can take a seat. Madame Olga should be with you any minute." Ray took a seat near the exit door just in case he wanted to escape. He was 10 minutes early, so he grabbed a home and garden magazine. He had just picked up his third magazine when the secretary said, "Ray, Madame Olga will see you now." Wiping his sweaty hands on his jeans, he rose and walked to the other door. His hand froze for a second. "Just go in and try it. If you don't like it, then you can go back home." With that thought, he turned the knob and walked into the room. Madame Olga's office also looked normal. There was a couch, easy chair, desk, and an office chair. A large filing cabinet stood in one corner, and a bookcase in the other. Madame Olga herself sat behind the desk and looked up when he entered, smiling so that her crooked teeth showed. She had short blonde hair, a long nose, and wore glasses. She wore a large black dress that swallowed up her tiny frame. She got up and moved around to the easy chair. "She did. Ray, come in and sit down." She motioned to the couch. Ray hesitantly took a seat, wiping his hands on his jeans. Madame Olga noticed this and said, "No need to be nervous, Ray. Think of me as your friend. A friend who is trying to help you find the perfect mate. Now tell your friend, Madame Olga, what kind of man you're looking for." She grabbed a notepad from her desk. Hearing the words out loud from someone other than his mother, who said the word man like it was a disease, felt strange. He wondered when he would get used to it. He said the words he had been rehearsing for over 2 weeks now, since he found Madame Olga's number in the phone book, and saw that she specialized in matching up gay men. "Well, I want him to be blonde, blue eyes." Madame Olga held up a finger. No, my dear. I want you to describe his personality, not his looks. Looks can only get you so far, but the soul of a person is what really matters." Ray hadn't really thought about that. "Well, to be honest, Madame Olga, I'm just wondering if I should just forget about this and try and date a woman. My mother, mothers. They often think they have your best interest at heart in matters of love, but that's sometimes quite the opposite. Don't mold yourself to be something you are not, dear, just because your mother does not approve." Ray nodded, laughing bitterly. "That's easier said than done. But maybe I'm just making a mistake. Maybe this is a feeling that will pass." Madame Olga shook her head. "No, you know who you are, and your mother should embrace that. Embrace your desire to love and be loved, no matter who it is." She placed her notepad on the desk. "Let me tell you why I started my matchmaking business." Madame Olga removed her glasses. "I grew up in a small town in Illinois. My 6 sisters and me. Our father had died when I was young in a mining accident, so that left the job of raising 7 girls to my mother, and she did a fairly good job. We all completed school, and of course, my 6 older sisters got married, which you thought would make any mother proud. But not my mother." She stopped and stared off, her eyes distant. "My mother was afraid that once I got married, then she would be alone. So she set out to make that happen." "How?" Ray asked. Madame Olga smiled, but it was tinged with some sadness. There was a young man who lived in the same town. I always saw him when I went to the grocery store. He was handsome, and so we started talking and found out we had a lot in common. Would you like something to drink, Ray? The question caught Ray off guard, so that he didn't know how to answer for a second. No, I'm fine, Madame Olga. Thank you. She nodded and continued. Well, for some reason, I kept this from my mother. At the time, I didn't know that she would do anything to keep me from marrying, but my intuition said not to tell her. But that same intuition should have told me to tell that handsome boy the same thing. The strange feeling that drove me not to tell my mother. But I didn't, so I guess that's why it happened. What happened, Madame Olga? Ray didn't realize that he was on the edge of his seat, almost like he was watching one of those late-night thrillers. He scooted back, trying to relax on the couch. Although I would still see this boy at the market, he would speak to me less and less. Then one day, he walked right past me, as if I were a ghost. I tried and tried to get him to speak to me, to understand what had happened. But he wouldn't speak to me, at all. The next thing I knew, he was married, had children, and then moved away, all without me ever realizing what had happened. Her eyes had started to mist over, and she dabbed at them with a tissue. Ray made as if to rise and said, Madame Olga, if this upsets you, then you don't have to tell me the rest. I can just leave and reschedule. Besides, you have other clients. She shook her head and cleared her throat. No, dear, I have to tell you this story to make you understand, to not make my mistake. Ray was unclear how this story related to his situation. He hadn't met anyone yet, and he didn't have 6 sisters, just 2 brothers. But he continued to listen anyway. I was so heartbroken that I didn't even try to pursue another man. I left the house less and less, only going out for the essentials. At first I took a job as a cleaning woman at a hotel, but then my mother began to get sick, so I became her full-time nurse. My sisters would come and help occasionally, but I think deep down they were glad that it was me who was stuck with my mother, and not them. The doctors said she had cancer, and only gave her 3 months to live. She died almost to the day of the diagnosis. The phone rang, but Madame Olga ignored it. It stopped after 2 rings, so Ray guessed that the red-headed secretary answered it. My mother always seemed anxious when I would leave to get groceries or medicine, or some other essential from the store, and extremely relieved when I returned. Like she thought I was going to permanently leave her. She was extra pleasant to me, which I thought was strange at the time. From sunup to sundown, I took care of her. That became my life. I didn't have friends, and like I said, I was still heartbroken. So when she died, I was a little lost at first. It took me a few months to even start cleaning out the house and attending to other matters. And that's when I found them. Madame Olga got up and walked around to her desk. For a second, Ray didn't know what was happening, and then he saw her pull out a thick wad of yellowed envelopes. He could see that the writing was faded, and the stamps were beginning to peel away. She sat back in the easy chair, held the bundle of letters up to her nose and inhaled. A smile crept across her lips and stayed there for a few seconds. Then she opened her eyes, and it was gone. I found these letters hidden in a box in the attic. They had all been addressed to me, from the handsome boy whom I met at the market. I wasn't able to process what I was seeing. Why were all these letters hidden away like this? Then it hit me, my mother. The boy had been writing to me, professing his love for me, hoping that I would write back. Each letter implored me to write back, to tell him that I felt the same way. The last letter said that if I returned his feelings, to meet him at a bridge in town, and then we could talk about our future together. She looked down at the bundle in her lap. My mother hid all these letters from me. She knew that if I told him how I felt, then I would leave her. So she stole the one person from me who could have made my life happier, more complete. In her selfishness, she didn't think about my happiness, only hers. Madame Olga's voice had started to crack. This pain, this anger was deeper than the first time when the boy stopped talking to me. Because now I know why, and I couldn't go back to undo it. I thought about trying to find him and show him the letters. But what good would that have done? He had a family, a life, happiness. It was time that I found mine. She placed the letters on her desk, and then back around to face Ray. I packed up my things and decided to move. So that's how I wound up here. All I knew how to do was cook, clean, and take care of sick people. So I worked in a nursing home for a few years. Then one day I saw a want ad for a secretary for Madame Lisa's matchmaking services. It sounded interesting, so I applied for the job and got it. Working for Madame Lisa, I learned the ropes of the business and made a personal connection with the people. Madame Lisa always drove home the fact that our business was not to make money off people's misery, but to find a genuine way to improve their lives, find the right person for them, and to be with them throughout the process. It struck a chord with me, so when Madame Lisa decided she was retiring, I took over the business, and 10 years later, here I am. So Ray, I hope you see the point of my story. Don't let your mother decide who you're going to love. That's your decision. It's your life. Long after she is gone, you still have to live. And I can tell you don't want to be alone. And I'm here to make sure that doesn't happen. She reached over and patted his hand. He smiled and nodded. Now let's try again. What kind of man are you looking for? And don't say a brunette this time. She laughed a little, and so did Ray. Ray contemplated this for a moment, then said what he had always wanted to say, but just now found the words for it. I want someone who will love me for me. Madame Olga's eyes softened, and her smile was wistful. That's a great start. Now let's go from there. There weren't many who had the gift Annam had, the gift of observation. He could read body language and facial expressions, like the person was telling him exactly what they were feeling at the moment. It startled people sometimes, how easily he could gauge someone's intentions, and he gently tried to steer people to someone who fit, who could understand the other. Sometimes all a person needed was a gentle nudge, small push in the right direction. Sometimes they needed a literal shove. Annam found his peace when people realized how well they fit together. He could relax when others learned the gentle embrace of the person they were meant to find. He had never been wrong about a match before, never felt a discordance when he nudged someone along, save for one match, his own. He had never even considered that there would be a soul to match his, that someone out there was waiting for him to come along. Annam could match others all day long, but when his match was brought up, he nearly shut down. A match of his own, a person meant for him, and him alone. Preposterous. As if anyone could understand him as fully as he understood others. The idea alone was foreign to him. How could someone understand people as deeply as he did? That someone could read him as easily as he read others was a concept that had no place in his mind. And yet there was someone waiting for him. Someone who would show him he was wrong. A match for him and him alone. He would only stumble across this person when he was ready to find his own match. When he tired of watching others find their happiness in their partners and yearned for his own. Save for Annam, his happiness was found in the way newly matched lovers danced around each other, learning more of this person that was their very own. Happiness found in the way they would smile at each other, shy glances at first, open adoration, and love following soon after. He never had to do much to lead someone to their other half. He remembered everyone, their personalities, and their quirks. If someone didn't quite mesh with anyone he knew first, he was bound to discover the other person later on. Such was his gift. It was only soon after another successful match had been made that Annam began to feel hollow. As though a part of him was missing. Had the feeling been there before, and he hadn't noticed? He didn't know. He only knew that he needed something to fill that void, and matchmaking wasn't quite the balm it used to be. Perhaps he needed time away from matching, from people. But the thought of being away from people ached, he found. What if he missed an opportunity for a perfect match? Fear blossomed then, anxiety looming over him, over the idea that he'd somehow miss an opportunity, that two people would go unfulfilled somewhere, having never met their other half. So he continued matching, hoping that he would one day find the joy in his gift again. That the void within would somehow be filled by doing what he had always done. It was a downward spiral, one that forced him to remain in the same situation, slowly losing joy in watching two halves meet and be joined in bliss. And it wasn't long until he began to think that maybe his blessing was instead a curse, that he knew all thoughts and feelings around him at all times wasn't a gift, but instead a hindrance. The spiral continued until he was left barren, feeling nothing more than the looming pit in his soul growing larger for every match he would make. Where was the joy he had felt in leading others to their new love? Why did his gift feel like shackles? The thought never occurred to him to look for help, to learn more of himself, and find a breath of fresh air in new experiences. His soul was stagnant, quiet but unmoving, like a pond on a still day. But something happened. A pebble dropped in the pond, creating ripples in the stillness. He found someone. They drifted into his view one day, paying no heed to him. A breath of fresh air, inhaled on a stifling day, was all he needed. They knew nothing of him, and less of his gift, and yet he knew, in the deepest parts of his soul, that they had the gift too. They didn't know. He lifted a hand, aching to reach out to them. He were gone just as quickly, a glimpse of what he was missing from his soul. From then on, he searched for this other piece of himself, this missing part of his soul. He couldn't find them. After searching and searching and searching, he found nothing. The ripples in the pond had long since faded into stillness. Yet he kept searching, even long after the civilization he had known crumbled into dust. He searched until almost nothing remained of his soul, merely a wisp in the darkness of a ruined city. He yearned for the feeling of the momentary glimpse he'd had, the pure relief in that moment. It wasn't until he searched a decades-old graveyard, long since given back to the wild surrounding it, that he found them again. Anim was not omniscient. He could not read minds, nor influence the wills of others. He could only suggest and nudge. His gift would not help him as he beheld his other half's headstone. Here was not for him but to weep. Weep for the lost opportunity, for the pebble that had breached his stagnant soul. And it was only when he had exhausted his sorrow that he saw the other wisp in the dark, so small that he nearly thought it a firefly. But it was the wisp of his pebble, his other half, and the joy that spread through his soul was unfettered by the sorrow of his lost people. Long before, in a dead tongue, Anim meant the blessing. For centuries it had been a curse, doomed to watch everyone he knew, loved and lived with, die. But with his pebble he finally found the peace that had eluded him for so long. It's been 1 week since I moved to New York. Megan and Riley took care of the advertisement and promotion of my work, and also about the office space. I haven't seen my office space yet, but Riley and Megan told me it will be ready soon, and I would love it. Can't wait to see the office and starts working. I'm grateful to them. They had done so many things for me. They are the best of best friends of mine. As soon as I will start working, I will be able to repay the debts, rent a home, and brought Mom here, in New York. Maine is home, but I have to choose New York over Maine. I will earn here enough to take care of the house and office debt, our office debt, Mom's medical bills, everything. And I don't want Mom to stay in Maine anymore. She needs a change in her life. She needs peace. Living in Maine just gives her tension and worries. It's been 20 years, but still, Mom is hurt and broken just because of Dad. She is forced to pay the debt for Dad's betrayal. 20 years she managed to hide the truth from me for the last 20 years, and I never doubted anything. How was I so careless? How did I ever find anything? How did I never try to find something? Maybe I was too young to understand anything. Or maybe my mother was a good actor. I would have never found out the truth if I didn't enter her room to find my scarf that she borrowed from me, and open her closet in search of that. The file falls from nowhere on my head, and then hit the ground, and the papers inside it popped out from it. I bent down to collect the papers, and then I found out the papers that said, our old house was mortgaged for $89,950, which was later sold in foreclosure auction because Mom was unable to pay the debt. When I confronted Mom with the papers, she broke down and told me everything. How Dad betrayed Mom by mortgaged the house secretly and escaped with another woman with all the money. He tricked Mom into debt. Mom spent all her money on buying her dream house in Cape Elizabeth. She had no savings left. She was unable to repay the debt, and the house was sold in the foreclosure auction in front of her to someone else. See how someone could be so cruel to betray her wife and his own 2 years daughter like that. I could feel the pain now. I feel guilty not to found it earlier. Mom had to endure all alone for the last 20 years. She had to go through the pain all alone. Tears started rolling down my cheeks. I will never forgive him ever in my life. I hate him more than anything. He hurt my mom, betrayed her, tricked her. But I will reap what that person has sown. He will bring that house back for my mom. No matter how costly it may be. I will work hard day and night. I will do whatever it takes and gift my mom that house before her birthday. Ember, I jumped on Megan's voice. I quickly wipe off my tears and turn around. Let's go. What are you doing here on the balcony? Hugh, I've been looking for you for so long. Hugh, did you find her? Riley shouts from the drawing room. Hugh, sis going to make us homeless someday. I laughed out loud. Hugh, are you guys coming? Hugh, we are getting late. Everyone is waiting for us. Hugh, here you are. Where have you been for so long? Riley asked. You won't listen, will you? Megan asked. Hugh, what did I do now? Hugh. Riley swings on her feet back and forth, hands behind her back. Where are we going? Hugh. Riley quickly comes to me and stand beside me, put an arm on my shoulder. Hugh. Let's go. Megan said. Hugh. Let's go. Megan said. Hugh. We head out of the house. Megan locks the door and changed the password. After that we head toward the elevator. Riley pushes the button and we wait for it. Hugh. A elderly woman walks out of the house. She scans the corridor and then stops her gaze on us. Oh no, not today, Mrs. Robert. Hugh. Riley moans in pain. All because of you. I warned you so much time. You won't listen. Megan scolds Riley in silence. Sorry. They start arguing in whispers. Guys, stop fighting. I whispered. Hugh. The lady stands in front of us and scans our faces. Good morning, Mrs. Robert. How are you? Asked Megan. It's a beautiful day, Mrs. Robert. Don't you think? Said Riley. The lady didn't reply to any of them. She grinds her teeth and narrows her eyes on them. This is an apartment or a public zoo. How many times I have told you two not to make noises. You two behave like wild animals. Don't you know manners? Didn't your parents teach you how to behave? Once started, she goes on and on. I wanted to speak out, but Megan holds me back. The old lady kept going on for 15 minutes straight. Luckily the elevator comes up and opens the door. We quickly hoop in and Riley pressed the button and the lift door closed. Riley and Megan lean on the elevator's wall and take a relief breath. Thank God, the lift saved us today. What was wrong with the old lady? Why she was being so mean? You should have let me talk to her, I demanded. That would have made the situation worse. She won't listen to anybody, Megan said. Today we were lucky. Other days she would come to our door and would go on non-stop for hours. Riley said, everyone hates her. Last month she forced a single mother to move out from the neighbor just because her toddler would cry for milk. But we don't have to tackle her for a lifetime. I heard she is moving out. Riley said. Where? Megan asked. Don't know. Maybe in the woods where A Quiet Place was filmed. Riley starts mimicking. We all laughed. The elevator stops at the lobby. We walk out of the elevator and head outside. Riley unlocks her car and we slide inside. Riley turns on the music. Where are we going? I asked. Wait, and you will see, Megan replied. I am excited. I can't wait to see it too, said Riley. Riley seems way more excited than I am. She keeps on saying the same thing. I don't have any clue what they are up to, but if they plan something, it's special for me. You will be surprised to see the surprise. We have been waiting for so long for it, and finally, it is ready. Atta girl, enough information. Now you need to stop talking and focus on your driving. Megan cut Riley in between. Sorry, I will zip it up, Riley said. You should, Megan said. Megan then turns to me. She opens her purse and takes out a piece of satin red cloth. Turn around and close your eyes, Megan said. I shook my head and turned on the other side. Megan blindfolded my eyes. How long I have to keep the blindfold? It's uncomfortable. Just hold on, we are almost there. About 10 or 15 minutes, the car finally stops at a destination. We are here. Okay, hold my hand, lowering your head. Come out of the car, said Megan. Oh my God, I can't believe the bee. Megan shouts. Sorry, Riley said. Now hold my hand and follow me. Your surprise is waiting for a few steps ahead, said Megan. It was really uncomfortable. Come walking like a zombie with the blindfold on my eyes. Anyway, I hold Megan's hands tightly and follow her. Walking for 1 or 2 minutes, we finally stop. I could hear people murmuring. Dead end, I asked. Yup. Are you ready for your surprise? Megan asked. I am dying to see it, I replied. Believe me, girl. You will love it, Riley said. Megan looses the knot. I remove the blindfold. I open my eyes. It was still dark. I blinked several times. Darkness fades, and I could see blurred figures in front of me. Take your time, Megan said. Soon after blinking several more times, the figures take shapes of Riley and Megan, and buildings behind them. They were standing close to each other. Welcome to Enchanted, said Megan and Riley. They stand apart and gesture at the building behind them. I look at their direction. I don't get surprised, but shocked. It's Megan and Riley's 5 stories commercial building, named after my company name, Enchanted, and a huge billboard at the top with my photo and my introduction. I never came here before, but I saw the pictures on my phone sent by Megan and Riley when they bought the building last year. I insisted when I land in New York to bring me here, but that time they told me that it's under renovation, and now. Did you like your new office? Asked Megan. Not just her. Our new office too from now on, Riley said. And of course she liked it. I could say that. Don't you, asked Riley. I am speechless. I don't know how to react, what to say. This is what I never thought of, not even in my dreams. What happened? You didn't like it? Asked Megan. I blinked several times, pulling me out of my thought. I am confused. I am trying to understand the situation. We thought as we are going to work in the same building, why we should use different company names. Our work are related and the word Enchanted just perfectly fits for us too. So we named the building after your company name. Are you mad at us? Riley asked. My eyes filled with tears. I could hold back my emotions against their sweetest gesture. My tears start rolling down my cheeks. Guys, the words were stuck in my throat. I was unable to express my feeling in words. I was crying. I was shivering. I couldn't stand, couldn't hold the tears back. I got them emotional too. They rushed to me and hugged me tight. After a few moments, I calmed down. We head inside. Megan and Riley give me a quick tour of the office, and later Megan showed me my office floor and my cabin and also show me 4 color files. Red file consists of clients' lists with arrogant, shrewd behavior. Yellow consists of the mutual list. Green consists of easygoing clients. Blue one consists of Megan and Riley's clients list. And white files consist of lists of bachelorette in New York City. Megan also made an online website for my service and also created a mobile application for the same to make my work easy. The first day in the office went well. I got 2 clients on the very first day of my work. One of them was a client from Red File, Mr. Hoover, millionaire businessman, looking for a million or billionaire for his daughter Leslie. And another client is new in town, Mr. Tunner, billionaire businessman looking for a simple and decent girl for their only son Blake. Totally opposite. The first day was very hectic. Office late night celebration. I was exhausted, so I took one day off. What I thought but never happened. Around 1 p.m., I got 40 missed calls and 10 messages from Edward, my manager. I called him back and got to know someone broke into our office and was asking for me. I rushed to my office as soon as possible. When I enter my office, I saw it was a total mess. It seems like a tornado passes through my office. I walk further and saw Edward was arguing with someone. Edward? I called. Edward looked at me over the man's shoulder. He walks to me. I try to keep my cool. Last day, Mr. Hoover threatened me. This man could be one of his men. What's going on here? I asked. Where is Amber Tamblyn? Where is she hiding? He said. His voice was harsh. The man turned around. He's 6 feet tall, brown, short hair with a wavy lock of hair on his forehead, blue eyes, full kiss-able lips, and a charming face. How can I help you? I asked politely. I don't want to talk to the staff to call your boss and ask her to come out from her hideout, he said. We can talk in my cabin, I said. Didn't you heard me? What did I say? I want to talk to your boss. Where the hell is she? He asked. This man was getting into my nervous still. I kept my cool and told him to calm down. He already ruined my office, and I don't want any more damage. I politely told him that I'm Amber Tamblyn, the owner of Enchanted, but he starts laughing. Soon Megan and Riley enter the office and got worried. You're Amber Tamblyn, the owner of this office and a matchmaker, he asked a sarcastic way. Have you not seen the billboard outside? By the way, who are you? Riley asked. The man looks at me in disbelief. His lips curved into a half smile. He shook his head, and without saying anything, he left the office. Later everyone suggests me to call the police, but I denied. I head inside my cabin and get back to my work. I was flipping the Tunner's file when AI noticed the photo was missing. I called the number given on the visiting card and talked to Mrs. Tunner. She was busy hosting a housewarming party. She invited me with Riley and Megan to meet her son vis-a-vis. We reached on time. We meet with Mr. and Mrs. Tunner. I choked twice on my wine that evening. At first, Hoovers were also invited at the party, and second, the man who broke into my office in the afternoon was none other than Mr. and Mrs. Tunner's son Blake. The day gave me enough shock for a day, so we left the party early. Very next day, Hoover called me in his office and offered me a deal. If I set Blake with his daughter Leslie, he will pay me to double the payment. At first I hesitated, but later I remind myself how important the money is right now for me, so I agreed on the deal. On the same day, I called the Tunner family and told them about Leslie. They called me home, and I showed them her file. Mr. and Mrs. Tunner liked her profile, but Blake didn't. He doubted my ability to be a good matchmaker. He put one condition: if I befriend with him, he will meet Leslie. I had no option. I had to agree with him, and I didn't realize what he actually meant that day. He started hanging around in my office and house too. He would take Leslie to dinner/party/shop if I go with them. He would not leave a chance not to irritate me, but I succeed. 3 months later, their wedding date was finally fixed, but don't know why I was feeling hurt. It seemed like I was losing a part of my body. A month later, I realized I fell for Blake. I was in love with him, but he's getting married. I can't love him. Their wedding was about to take next week. I decided to visit Mom in those days. I wouldn't be able to see him marrying Leslie. I did as decided. I left for Maine before their wedding. I was missing him. I cried day and night. I remind myself, he's someone else's husband now. I need to move on. I planned a day out. Mom and I spent some quality time together. We enjoyed it a lot. My mood was refreshed. We head home. When we reached home, I was shocked. Blake was here in Maine. Seeing me, he pulled me closer to him and kissed me. He told me he didn't get married to Leslie because he loves me from the beginning, when he first saw me. He agreed to see Leslie just to be around me. He knew everything about Leslie. I was frozen. I was confused. I was happy. He kneeled down and proposed me a ring, and I said yes without a second thought. He got up and again kissed me. By the next month we got married, and as a wedding gift, he bought me my mom's old house and also repaid the debts too. Mom shifted to our old house while I head back to New York with Blake. I was the luckiest girl in the world. I was in cloud nine. I never thought I would fall in love with someone and with the right person. This is insane, Ben said, anxiously running his fingers through his hair and pacing around the room. Are you sure this is necessary? Trust me, Ben, Albert said. This is going to do the trick. Ben flopped on the couch like an amiable toddler in a pathetic attempt at a temper tantrum. He stood up and started pacing again. He took a deep breath. Fine, I'll do it. Where's the suit? Albert's efforts to contain his excitement were only moderately successful, something he realized as his feet left the floor in a spontaneous outburst of anticipation. He pulled out the suit, brushed it off, and proudly displayed it to Ben. Here it is, he said. I think it will fit you perfectly. He giggled, then clapped his hand over his mouth. Ben glared at him. Look. If you're going to take that much pleasure in all of this. Sorry. I'm sorry, Ben. I think this is finally going to work. It's been so long, you know. I was starting to give up hope, but now I really think it's going to happen. He smiled broadly. You stud. He couldn't resist. I could walk out right now. I don't have to do this, you know. I know. I'm sorry. No more joking. We need to get you in the right mood. Ben pulled his t-shirt over his head. Albert couldn't help but notice that he was ripped. Ah, youth. Too bad Bessie's not going to see that, he thought. Ben begrudgingly donned the suit, which hugged him like a second skin. It's kind of tight, Ben whined. He shrugged his shoulders, flung his arms about haphazardly. It feels like the seams could just rip right out. It's fine, Ben. It looks great. Check it out. Ben stepped over to the mirror, eyes closed, bracing himself. He opened his eyes slowly, one at a time. A smile came over his face. He looked almost alluring. Huh, not bad. Albert clapped his hands. Now he knew it was in the bag. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. He explained the plan in such painstaking detail that Ben felt he was embarking on a mission to Mars. Well, Ben thought, maybe that's apartment. He was envisioning his hero's welcome when Albert's voice startled him back to attention. Got it? Albert's eyes bore into him. Are you sure you've got it, Ben? Yes, I've got it. Okay, at 5 o'clock, I'll take you to Bessie, and then we'll just see how it goes. Okay, it might take a while. It's fine if it does. He felt protective of Ben suddenly. So young and inexperienced, and with so much at stake. Given how protracted the process was likely to be, he'd been deliberately vague about the timetable, and he felt some guilt about that. But he knew, if he revealed the truth to Ben, the whole situation might just implode. At the appointed hour, Ben and Bessie finally met. It was palpably awkward at first, each of them so unfamiliar with the most basic rules of engagement. The first time, they didn't spend more than 30 minutes together, both drained in their own way when the interaction was mercifully over. With subsequent visits, a level of comfort and familiarity blossomed, creating the hoped-for atmosphere of trust and desire. It was going according to plan, but after 3 weeks of daily contact, Albert knew it was time to ramp things up. He bought Ben a beer to prime him for a little escalation. So I think you need to dance with her, he said at the bar, after Ben seemed sufficiently relaxed. Are you fucking kidding me? I am not going to dance with her. How would I even do that? You're crazy, Albert. This is going too far. It's dancing, Ben. I didn't say you had to sleep with her. Ben snorted. Yeah, that'll be next week. Albert adopted a soothing tone. Just dancing, Ben. No one is going to see you. Whatever, Ben said. In for an inch, in for a mile. he thought. A crazy fucking mile. Let's just get this over with. The next day, Ben approached the quest with a new level of commitment, tempered by a heightened level of anxiety. He and Bessie eyed each other warily, Bessie perceiving the subtle shift in the situation. Their weeks together had admittedly brought about some weird-ass connection, but this, Ben wondered how Bessie felt now. He looked at her forlornly. He didn't know how to dance, hated dancing actually, and certainly nothing had ever prepared him for this situation. He lifted his right arm awkwardly, then his left, striving for some disco-era undulation. Bessie seemed to respond. Ben eased himself sideways, trying to lead with his hip. He moved back in the other direction, seeking a rhythm or cadence or anything superior to his innate and pervasive clumsiness. He spun himself around, only briefly losing eye contact with Bessie, who watched him with a level of intensity he had not previously observed. He shuffled sideways again, his face erupting in a smile when he saw her mimic him. He went the other way, and she followed. He eased himself forward, leading with his head. Bessie, clearly intrigued, shadowed him with an unexpected level of grace and attention. Oh my God, he thought, this is actually working. On the other side of the glass, Albert, riveted, was having the exact same thought. A tone sounded. It was low, and the music was playing, so Albert initially wondered if it was part of the song. It sounded again, and he felt a jolt of adrenaline, realizing with certainty that it was the sound he'd been anticipating all these weeks. It was pinging again, and again and again, the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard in his life. At the regular intervals he knew, indicated that this whole crazy scheme had finally brought about the intended result. Albert was mortified to recognize a tear rolling down his very own cheek. He swatted it away like a bug, wiped his hand on his lab coat. He was a man of science, for God's sake. But it had worked, despite Ben's reluctance, his protestations, his awkwardness. It had really worked. All the sensors confirmed it. Bessie was ovulating. Albert tapped on the glass, gave Ben the thumbs up. Ben slowly backed away from Bessie, not wanting to jeopardize her reproductive renaissance. He gave Bessie a shy wave, reached behind his back for the doorknob, and slowly exited the room, closing the door like a parent terrified of disturbing his child's slumber. At the muted click of the door, Albert greeted him with a whoop, and such a hefty pat on the back, he nearly knocked Ben to his knees. Ben peeled the suit off his sweaty body, quickly pulled on his own normal clothes. A stray feather remained on his neck, and Albert gently plucked it off. We did it. You did it. Thank you, Ben. I can't thank you enough. I know it took forever, and I know you felt ridiculous, but it worked. You're a hero. You may just go down in history. As Ben walked home along the river at the end of the day, he reflected back on what he had thought he would be doing as an intern at the zoo this summer. Some perfunctory experiments, a little vital sign monitoring, perhaps some data analysis, if he was really lucky. Or maybe he would have been assigned to sweep the floor, clean the cages, and sit for hours in front of 6 seemingly identical closed-circuit TV screens. But donning a bird suit and wooing a nearly extinct species wasn't something he could have conceived of in even his most aspirational burst of imagination. Albert's hyperbole aside, he had accomplished something noteworthy. Okay, maybe he couldn't add it to his Tinder profile, but how many people could say they had single-handedly thwarted the extinction of a rare bird through their own charm, charisma, and dance moves? Well, maybe not single-handedly. Albert did conjure up the whole plan, after all. Screw Tinder. Maybe from now on he'd just rely on Albert, the prey whisperer, the wingman, the hatchmaker.